Good evening, everyone, and welcome to Keep the Vision, episode 7. And as always, I'm joined by my co-host, William O'Donnell. William, how are you?
Yeah, I'm fantastic, Alan. Looking forward to tonight, episode 7. Wow, who would have thought that after the first episode? We're still going strong, but we're deciding to do something a bit different tonight, Alan, is that right?
Absolutely, yes. So, first of all, I thoroughly enjoyed episode 6 with our guest, Susie Mollison. That was absolutely fantastic. And if anyone's listening for the first time tonight, I'd recommend you even just go back to that one as a wee start. But yes, we've got some guests lined up for future episodes, but for tonight, we decided maybe talk about music and its influence on our lives. And in fact, maybe a lot of people don't know this, but the Keep the Vision, the name of our podcast, Keep the Vision, is named after a song you wrote, William.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, so it's for anybody listening that didn't know that. I mean, it was Alan that actually came up with the idea to call the podcast "Keep the Vision" after the song that I wrote, which meant a lot to me. So thanks for that, Alan. Yeah, it was a song that came out of nowhere, really. I mean, I think sometimes I'm not, Eric Clapton or Jimi Hendrix on the guitar sort of thing. I'm just the sort of guy that sort of plays some chords. But, music's been a massive influence to me in my life, from, just crawling about my nappies, listening to my dad, listening to the Beatles and David Bowie. Oh God, I could be here all night, but that was his favourite band and his favourite artist. So I've just always grew up listening to music, making sort of, how can I put it? I think they say music is a bookmark of your life, isn't it? You'll hear a song that will take you back to a holiday or a person or a special time of your life or a place, whatever. And I think for me, I'm very, very nostalgic when it comes to music as well. I just love the sort of, old classic vinyl and stuff like that. But I've made music make a difference to my life. Like if you just like hearing a song, get inspired by lyrics, learning something on the guitar, or I'm even trying to get my son listening to certain bits of music. So I think we're surrounded by music every day, and it's been a major part of my life, and it's something that I'm incredibly passionate about. I regular go to gigs, got a big CD collection, and had to part with some of my CDs when we moved house, which was broke my heart. But I kept the ones that you remember, like running to HMV to buy, like when they just came out and stuff like that. Mostly in the 90s, when I was a teenager. But yes, sorry, I've been off on one there, but I just get back to the Keep the Vision podcast name. It was a song that I just wrote, just played. I've got a tattoo, Keep the Faith. So I got that tattooed onto me when I was in Australia. I think I briefly touched on this in the last podcast after I'd done a skydive. But Keep the Faith is a song by Bon Jovi. It was a song that I loved, and it's become a sort of life motto. So I've got a song tattooed on my arm, but it means it's a sort of more a spiritual thing for me, obviously. But Keep the Vision was going to be Keep the Faith, but I don't know how it came out. Keep the Vision. It was just a natural process when I was on the guitar and the chorus just came out. Keep the Vision. I just wrote the verses and then that was the chorus. So I think what I'll do is maybe in a future episode I'll play the song live for you and the listeners.
That would be fantastic. I think that'd be really great, William. No, before we launched the podcast, we were looking at names for the podcast, and I've been listening back to one of the Mind Store open mic night, and you had a piece, and you sang to camera, Keep the Vision, and I thought, there it is, right in front of me, right in front of us. So it was a no-brainer. And of course, since we've launched the podcast, we've touched on goal setting, and there isn't a better kind of underlying message to goal setting than keeping the vision. So it's all working out great. You'd mentioned earlier, William, your musical influences at a younger age. Was that your dad that influenced you with your music there?
Yeah, I think my dad and my brother. So my dad, especially, obviously, because my dad's record collection went right back. So I remember listening to like David Bowie quite a lot when I was younger. And one of the songs I remember was Changes, and
Oh, yeah.
one of the lyrics for that track is "Time may change me, but I can't trace time," and that always stuck with me. That lyric. So I think I've always just kind of always tried to have that sort of thought process. Like, it's a great lyric, that, and
Yeah.
but you can't trace time, sort of thing, and time, you're going to evolve and change all the time. So yeah, so my dad was had a brilliant record collection, and I've got a jukebox that's in my spare room. It's like sort of the old sort of Happy Days style one. It's got his original CDs in it. So yeah, so my dad was a big influence. What about yourself? Back when you were younger, who was the influences you, and songs that sort of maybe inspired you, or things that still inspire you to this day?
Sure. Well, I was a 60s child, William, and I can remember, during that period being, listening to the likes of Elvis Presley, the Beatles, the Rolling Stones, Dusty Springfield, the Beach Boys. And so you're talking about, that's from when I was born to up to the age of 10. That's the music I was listening to. But I'm going to say at this stage that music in those early days, and absolutely still today, has always been about dancing. I've never been someone that's tuned into the lyrics of songs. There are one or two, that do stand out from the past, and we'll touch on them as we go through the episode. But initially, I just found that, there was a beat, a rhythm to these songs, and I just thought, and of course, a lot of these songs that I heard were being played at parties that my mum and dad would hold. And, as you're talking about people that would come up, dressed in their suits and beehives and typical 60s gear. And, what an influence that was to me. And then as we got into the 70s, I can remember my dad coming home with a single that I just bought, Ride a White Swan from T-Rex. I mean, how cool is that? I remember he brought it home and he lifted up the lid to the radiogram and played this song. And again, it was like, whoa, what a sound, what a tune. And you couldn't help want to kind of dance to it, kind of thing. So yeah, these were my earlier influences. Particularly, my dad was a big Elvis fan, and as was my mum. But as I mentioned, the Beatles, the Stones, Dusty Springfield, the Beach Boys, we had all that to listen to as well. So these are my earlier influences, and I would say probably swung it for me being more attracted to the dance side of music rather than maybe a lyric or two, me tuning into that kind of thing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's it. Music's a feeling. It's you just like you say, we had that night out, and you were shaking hips, weren't you? You were going for it. So I can see like that's it. Even music is meant to make you feel good, so you put songs on. But there is a lot of songs out there that people think that are sad and depressing. Like from with the Beatles yesterday to like some of Adele stuff. But I think you've got to get through heartache sometimes to write a great song. And I think you listen to some of the classic songs, and some of them you break down the lyrics. I mean, I'm a big fan of the Queen track, "The Show Must Go On." That's a song that means a lot to me. But you break down the lyrics of that song, it's really deep, and it strikes a chord with a lot of folk. Like, it's the show must go on. Doesn't matter what happens in your life. You've got ups and downs, and you might be down at some point, but the show has to go on. And sometimes even listening to that song can give me a bit of inner strength as well. And just the music is dead uplifting in that track. And then Freddie Mercury's vocal is just incredible, isn't it? So, so I think I'm just a bit like yourself. I just love dancing, and music makes you feel. But as you say that, I'm a big rock fan, but people don't necessarily associate that with sort of dancing. But I mean, it's upbeat. It's like, you can. Our first dance song for a wedding was AC/DC, "Shoot Me All Night Long." You know, so
There you go.
people were expecting Michael Bublé or something. I'm
Yeah.
like, no, get the air guitars out, and
Yeah.
everybody was up dancing. Because
Yeah.
it's just get that guitar down. It kind of kicks in, and then
Yeah.
everybody was loving it. Like, it was just like a total shock for a first dance song, but we quite liked that. We didn't want something too soppy,
Yeah.
like you say, something that's
Some
one of the
waltz or
traditional,
something.
the
Yeah.
traditional wedding tracks, which is fine if you want a sort of romantic dance. But Sarah wasn't really feeling it. She was wanting something, a wee bit like sort of upbeat and a bit sort of bit fun. Let's
Yeah.
just
And,
say that. So
yeah.
yeah,
And something that related to you, reflected your personality. Rather than feeling you had to do something that was traditional. You chose your own song, your own music, and I think that's great. Very good. That's
yeah,
great.
yeah. So that's it. With music, I mean, it's I'm kind of big in Spotify, so I listen to a lot of different things, and that's it. With the modern technology we've got, some people think, maybe the natural progression of music isn't as good anymore. Like bands don't really break through or whatever. Everything's so technical. You can make an album in a laptop now. Your bands will go out and record the bass, the drums, the guitar, and it's hard work to play in a band and get it all right. And it feels like sort of the modern pop world is sort of cheating a little bit. But as I say, I think there's a lot of great music out there, but you need to find it. I'm not too serious about music. I mean, obviously I've got my opinions, as you can tell, but I think a lot of stuff in the charts, it's no. I've just got friends that are just mega talented, Alan, and you wonder why they don't maybe get that break. And then sometimes it's like sometimes some of these pop stars, if you've got the right look, that's what matters, and then you can get a record deal where you last a year or so. But so I think it's good to search for music. That's what I always say. And I think we talked about being open-minded before. I'm the same with music. I think don't be a closed book with music. Just go and research music for, like you say, for the 60s, even go back further than that. I mean, sometimes I feel as if I was born in the wrong era, because I'm, like you're saying, a 60s child. I feel like that myself, Alan, because if you listen to, I've listened to Fleetwood Mac and Beatles and Stones and all that as well, and everything. A lot of 60s music has been a big influence on me, but a lot of that is my dad, as I said, as well. So same yourself with your dad and mum were Beatles, Elvis fans. But yeah, it's just a feeling, music, isn't it? It makes you feel good, and lyrics are a big thing with me. So I know not so much for yourself, but touching the lyrics.
Yeah. So I think for me to kind of make sense of the theme tonight, I'm just going to continue on like the timeline idea. So the 60s definitely influenced me in the terms of, I'm getting tuned into the the rhythm and the beat kind of thing, and then we got going through the 70s. I think there was like the glam rock period was kicked in as I just started at high school, but then thankfully we had the punk movement, and I got really into the Clash, the Sex Pistols, etc. So again, there wasn't too much in the way of lyrics that were hitting me. It was still all about dance stuff, and then you couldn't get anything more different than the two-tone scan movement, and I got into that as well. I just absolutely loved that. And anyone that knows me know that I'm a big Madness fan, crazy Madness fan, and I make no apology about that. And again, that's all about going to a gig and dancing my heart out. And then on the absolute flip side of that, in the late 70s, I stumbled across the Edinburgh School of Philosophy, and they introduced me to classical music, and I had a little bit of reservation about that. And I thought classical music was something that, you'd maybe just play in the background and didn't pay too much attention to it. But the Edinburgh School of Philosophy were all about, almost getting yourself into a meditative state where you listened to the music, like really got deep and listened to it. And there's two pieces, or two albums, I should say, that still resonate with me to this day, and that's Mozart's Eine kleine Nachtmusik and Vivaldi's Four Seasons. And I remember at that stage of my life using those albums, because I bought them as albums, good old vinyl, and I used them for meditation, if you like. And I remember when I used to play, I think it was Winter, Vivaldi's Winter, part of the Four Seasons, how emotional it made me feel. And that was the first time I think I ever got kind of deep with music and kind of appreciated it. So, I mean, you couldn't get a more diverse kind of build-up in those first 20 years of my life. The 60s, glam rock, punk, ska, two-tone, and then classical music. So, it doesn't mean I didn't stop listening to the dance music. I'm just saying, my interest and awareness, my horizons broadened by taking on board classical music, and that had a big influence on me, and it's something that I still appreciate to this day.
Yeah, fantastic. That's it. It's it's good to have diverse sort of taste in anything, isn't it, Alan? I think it's like you say, just being curious. I think sometimes and just try to music that sort of resonates with you. And obviously we do meditation, so we know the power of music. Even just a piece of music doesn't have to be any vocal lyrics there, because I mean, with guided meditations or just the sort of, or I don't know what you call it, the basic meditation or whatever. It's just something that's just, some people like it with music, or some people can just do it on their own. I do like some kind of background sound with it. I think Jack used to do, we're talking about Jack Black here, that has the Mindstore programme we've touched on in previous podcasts, how me and Alan met. He used to have this sort of sound, like it was like waves, like a sound effect, wasn't it? I used to love that.
Kind of like a babbling brook kind of thing.
Yeah,
a flowing river. Yeah.
Because I seem to write a lot of lyrics that's get the sort of metaphors to sort of oceans and waves and stuff like that. And one of the songs I've wrote is like that. It's like about the tide and the flow of water, and sounds very philosophical, like you're having these thoughts and the tide's going one way or waves or whatever. So maybe it's something to do with that. But yeah, so I think it's like you say, like that's the thing, is you can just listen to different types of music and feel different feelings. And so just have a bit of fun with this, Alan. What's your sort of go-to dance song? If like you're out in Edinburgh Saturday night, you're just like, right, you're in the pub, band are playing or something's come on the speaker, there's a song comes on, you go, I have to dance to that. What's that song?
I Saw Her Standing There by the Beatles.
Oh, aye. Great one.
Just absolute. That's a good hip shaker, that one. It's absolutely superb. Yeah, definitely.
She was just 17. Yeah. You'd have gotten well with my dad, I'll tell you, because he loved Madness, and that was one of his favourite Beatles tracks. So yeah. But, I'll maybe just throw myself the same question then. I always loved Billie Jean, Michael Jackson, because it was just a song that song came out when I was like 2 or 3 years old, and it was like, I just always remembered the video from it. We were standing on the sort of steps. Remember that? It was like
fantastic,
and it was like, they all lit up, and it's just that beat into it, Billie Jean. That would get me in the dance floor.
That's great. This is great. I'm enjoying this episode.
It's just
really good.
Just having a bit of fun. So we'll just have a bit of fun with it. What about a concert that you've been to as well? Just that was just one of the greatest nights of my life or whatever. I'll never forget that.
I think it's going to have to be a Madness gig. I've got tickets to go and see my 17th Madness gig this December, and everyone's an absolute peach. And probably the one that was just blew my mind was in 85 at the Edinburgh Playhouse. They were, because these guys are the same age as me, and it was just great, to see them belting out all their songs. And were they at their peak at that time? I don't know, but I just felt, as you mentioned there, that you could feel yourself smiling and nothing was going to stop you from enjoying like a fantastic night. And yeah, it was just such a pity, there was seats in the auditorium because everyone was just wanting a good dance.
Aye, okay, brilliant. So yeah,
I
good
think,
feeling.
I think maybe to sorry to interrupt you there, William. I think one of the best intros to a gig that I've experienced was again at the Edinburgh Playhouse, and maybe a year or two later, 86 or 87, was the Simple Minds, and they started with Waterfront.
Oh yeah,
Oh,
brilliant.
that was
Brilliant
awesome
intro
as well, So
well, that was a song that was written about the Clyde. Yeah, so it
Oh.
was. Yeah, so there we go. Because they're from Tory Glen in Glasgow, Jim Kerr, isn't he?
Yeah, I knew he was from Glasgow, but I couldn't tell you exactly where from.
Yeah, just pretty much close to Hampden. Sorry to interrupt, Alan. I was just going to say, just close to Hampden. It's pretty much really close.
All right, okay.
Yeah, so Simple Minds, yeah, they're a fantastic band.
Yeah, I first saw them in 1981 in an Edinburgh nightclub. I think it was Clouds, it was called. And the support band was Hey Elastica. That was pretty crazy. That was a crazy night. But great times. Absolutely great times. So is there a song in particular, William, that comes to mind for yourself where the lyrics have a deep meaning for you, or just they resonate with you?
Oof, there's a lot. So where do I start with that question? Too many to choose, but So I mean, because I think it changes all the time, but currently, or anything I've listened to lately, that something's struck a chord with me. God, I'll maybe come back to that one, Alan, because I'm sort of, I don't want to spend too long thinking about it, but there's that many. I mean, I can listen to, what was one I heard the other day? It's just kept me. Nobody ever seems to remember that life is a game we play. That's a lyric from the Oasis track Hello, which is the first song in Watch the Story Morning Glory. There you go. There's one for you there. Nice so it's good. I think it's a good approach to life, that if you think of life as a sort of, as a game, that might be quite, that maybe sound a bit sort of a bit out there to think it like that. But, we're on this planet to have fun. We're on this planet to be your best yourself and to have a good life and enjoy yourself. So why not think about it like that? Yeah. So, and the Gallagher brothers never took their life too seriously, so it was quite appropriate lyric for that one. But so that was one that just came to mind. But there's so many, isn't there?
Of course there is. Yeah.
But maybe just I'll maybe just answer the question that I'd asked you about a gig. Because we're on the Oasis theme, I went to see Oasis in the Barrowland, and I was actually on MTV. Because it was the 10 years of Noise of Confusion, the gig was called, and it was like a sort of 10-year anniversary of the band. And that time they were at the hype, they were playing like sort of massive venues. So you're thinking, why the hell are they playing the Barrowlands? It was like gold dust to get a ticket. And I remember going to a house at the outskirts of Glasgow to this guy and giving him £100 for a ticket. And back then I was like a 20-year-old, didn't have a lot of money and, broke the bank. I think I borrowed money to get this ticket. So I didn't want to miss this gig. Yeah. And then, so MTV filmed it, the whole gig. And then when Noel was playing the track Whatever, you see me bouncing on this guy's shoulders, and so there's my claim to fame. I was on MTV.
No, fantastic. So there we go. Fantastic.
So, yeah.
Brilliant, brilliant. For me, so I've said to you mainly that music generally means can I dance to it or can I not. It doesn't mean to say I can't appreciate the finer songs that are out there. Of course I do, but I still don't, at least to begin with, tune into the lyrics as such. However, keeping to the timeline thing, my initial musical influences were, at home, particularly mum and dad. Then I went to high school and listened to, glam rock stuff, but that included, class acts like, 10cc. And then you'd go to work and you'd make friends, and you'd start going to gigs. I remember going to see. In fact, I remember going to see 10cc, Kate Bush, that kind of thing. Brilliant gigs, and then 78, I think, was my first Madness gig, but all that time, it was all about, it was all about dance. However, one of my friends at work was a Led Zeppelin fan, and I immediately was judgmental, thinking, God, Led Zeppelin, who could like them? And then he played to me Stairway to Heaven, and I reckon that's probably one of the first times I can remember actually listening to the lyrics. And I'm not going to suggest for a moment that back then that I understood what the song was about, but it still meant something. It's a song that would I put it in my top 20? I don't know, but it's a memory I have. It's an emotion I felt at the time. And on reflection, when you're looking through the lyrics, I see it more about it's a song for hope. If you stick to the game plan, if you, without being corny about it, keep the vision, good will prevail, kind of thing. And I'm able to say that because I looked at the lyrics earlier on tonight before coming on, and I definitely didn't feel like that in the late 70s when I first heard that song. But that's how I feel tonight looking back on it. And I think that's pretty cool, We're allowed to mature, grow up, understand things a bit better. So that came to mind in the little preparation I've done for tonight, William.
Yeah, no, that's a great song. You just reminded my friend there, because he's a massive big fan of Led Zeppelin, and so I've actually, funny enough, been listening to them a lot. You see, some of the lyrical content in their music is incredible. What's his name? Jimmy Page, the guitarist. He's done this piece, and it's incredible. Some of the what a musician he is. Just a wee point there. Talk about Stairway to Heaven. Do you know the track by Eric Clapton, Tears in Heaven? I remember hearing that. Oh wow, it's a really sad song, but I remember listening to that and I was choking up. But I know what you're saying. It's like you want to hear that. You've got this sort of automatic thing that song that gets you dancing, but you can sometimes appreciate a sad song as well. If the lyrics are there, or you can, even like Eric Clapton, "Wonderful Tonight." He wrote that about his wife, didn't he? So,
yeah.
So I think it's like you say, just these sort of classic guitarists that I love to listen to, and just with the songs there. But just in something a wee bit of fun that I just thought of, right? Hope you don't mind me showing your age, Alan, because you said you're a 60s baby. So you were born in 1960, is that correct?
That is correct, yes.
Right. Okay, so this
is hard. I know it's hard to believe, but it's true.
I would just say you were born in 1970 something. There you go. But right, so you celebrated your 21st birthday in the year I was born in 1981.
Blimey.
So let's go back to 1981. So June, is that right?
That's right, June the 2nd.
Right. So June the 2nd, right? Okay. So I was born in February the 2nd, 1981. So I was celebrating my 4th month. Well, I wasn't celebrating it, but I was 4 months old on your 21st birthday. There we go. How's that?
Wow.
So what were you doing, or what music were you listening to in 1981?
Well, what I can remember is that my mum and dad very kindly arranged a 21st birthday party for me, and that was great. That was family, friends, as far back as my school days. Great to get everyone together. I know that the 80s can take a bit of a beating when it comes to maybe the quality of music, but I can remember the likes of the Human League, Don't You Want Me? I remember that being around in 81. And
that's
also,
right, number one.
Yeah, and also Tainted Love by Soft Cell.
Mm-hmm.
Tainted Love by Soft Cell. Vienna, Ultravox, that came out then. And I've mentioned Madness has been one of my favourite kind of two-tone ska bands, but the Specials and the Beat were big favourites of mine too. If I remember correctly, John Lennon brought his album out. Was it Woman, or maybe that was the song? And yeah, Orchestral Manoeuvres in the Dark, they were around as well. Yeah, so they're the bands that I can remember being around about the time when I had my party. And it might, some of these songs, some of these bands might have come more to the fore earlier than June or later in the year, but certainly as far as 81 comes to mind, these are the tracks that come to mind, William.
Yeah, it's interesting because just a couple of points you made there. Yeah, you're right about Women, John Lennon, because Imagine was number one when I was born, and it knocked Women off number one because John Lennon died in December 80, so he died like 6 weeks before I was born, I think it was.
Wow.
So Imagine get re-released again. I think it was a single in 1971, and it get re-released in 1981 again. But no, you're right. That was the sort of John Lennon solo stuff all get re-released again. But you're right. 80s music sort of get a bad reputation. But you're right. Human League, Soft Cell. It was all this sort of synth that get brought in, wasn't it? And then you had Frankie Goes to Hollywood and Culture Club and that. I think it was all that sort of quite a lot of synth.
Yeah,
Depeche Mode as well.
Yeah, and the kind of the new romantic era as well. So you had the likes of Duran Duran, Spandau Ballet, that kind of thing. And I loved all that stuff. Kind of dance to this. Yes, brilliant.
Yeah, and then you had the Americans like Guns N' Roses came from the 80s and stuff, and then you had a lot of great Aerosmith. That was all bands that came from sort of America that time. So I don't really agree with 80s music. Didn't really produce the music of the 70s. I think it just depends on your era or whatever. Maybe yourself, you're a teenager in the 70s, so that will always be you always go back to that era. But I'm a big 90s fan because people could say it was hit and miss, but I mean that was all my era, like the Britpop era, like Oasis, Pulp, Verve, Stereophonics, Manic Street Preachers. That was all the bands I loved because it was that was when I was a teenager, really. So that was all the bands I got into. But I was obviously went back in time because of my dad, and I grew up just listening to stuff. But it's I think that's a great thing about music. You're always finding new things to listen to. I've said this in previous podcasts about developing yourself by keeping an open mind, and it's the same with music, Alan, isn't it? Don't think you don't like something you've not heard it. Believe it or not, I'm actually starting to listen to a lot of metal, and it's a lot of heavier stuff, and you think a lot of people go, "Oh, you need to be an angry person to like all that," and I'm like, no, it's just it's just music that's maybe a bit more extreme. But I think it's the same with dance music. Some dance music's quite extreme. Some of my friends are like right into the heavier dance stuff. But it's sometimes people have got a sort of more a forceful way of putting a point across in music. You talked about the Sex Pistols. They were classic for it. Maybe they were just a bit too out there for a lot of folk in the late 70s, weren't they? Just that sort of like anarchy in the UK and all that, wasn't it? It was like, it was a big movement when Margaret Thatcher was the Prime Minister and all that, wasn't it? And I think a lot of sort of angst at that time, and they got onto that. But yeah, so it's you know more about all that than me.
Yes, I've mentioned a couple of times tonight, William, that I'm mainly attracted to music that I can dance to, but I'm not completely shallow. There has been one or two songs in my lifetime there, the lyrics I've resonated with the lyrics, and that's cool. But going off piste slightly, another song that I used to dance to a lot, thinking it was a happy, cheery-go-lucky song, was "Dance the Night Away" by the Mavericks. And I just blindly would get up on the dance floor and dance away to this brilliant tune. But it wasn't until I sang it on karaoke many moons ago that I was reading the lyrics, and it was like, oh my goodness, this is actually quite a sad song. But the way they sing it, they make it sound a happy song, and the guy that's singing the song is obviously broken up from his woman, and he's moving on, and he's, so one of the, put some of the lyrics from that song, and I've obviously pulled them up on the screen here, is, and if you should see her, please let her know that I'm well, as you can tell. And if she should tell you that she wants me back, tell her no, I gotta go. I just want to dance the night away.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, whoa. And it wasn't until I sang that in karaoke that I tuned into that and I thought, wow. So it's not that sad. It's obviously the guy's broken up with his girl and he's moving on, and that's obviously a positive thing. But my point is, I used to dance to that just as a happy-go-lucky song, but doing the karaoke version of it made me think about it a little bit deeper. And it became, although for me in essence initially it felt a bit sad, on reflection, the guy was saying, well, that's happened, move on, dance the night away. And you know yourself, dancing's great. It can lift your spirits immensely, as I've found over the years. It's good.
No, fantastic. You just made me remember something. My best mate Clark used to sing it in the karaoke. So, no, it's one of these songs that's brilliant in the karaoke because it just gets everybody up. So, yeah, if we ever get a wee night out, you can go up and do it again, so I'll cheer you on anyway. No, so karaoke, that's a kind of a social thing that brings people together, isn't it? And it's something that's been amazing for me over the years, because I've hosted the karaoke and the snooker club, and I mentioned my friend Clark as well, and he used to do it, and he's a cracking singer, and we've just kind of used to, the two of us, or just even other friends as well, used to go to karaoke's, and it was just a great energy. It was a great movement, just to sing a song, or we used to just love singing. But it was obviously, you're having a few beers and you're having a night out. All of a sudden, you're 11 or 12 o'clock at night. You're kind of thinking, God, I'm sort of half bust here. I'm not going to sing this too well. But it didn't stop you getting up. And we used to just go up and sing in pubs in Glasgow. We went on holiday, and always a karaoke, and it was just always a great night out. We just loved it, and it feels like we've not done it in that long, And any time we're out, I just love singing. So in the car all the time, you can't get me to shut up. Sometimes Sarah says, you again singing all the time, and even my customers comment that I think so. I think singing is just a great thing to release a bit of natural sort of happy emotion, I think. So I think I just wanted to touch on the karaoke thing there, but as I say, so it's just music's just a big part of my life, and I know for you yourself, sort of thing, and it's just I'm always I enjoy the writing as well, as I say. As I say, I'm not flashing the guitar, but I like to try and produce songs. I hope you don't mind me touching on this. It's actually the anniversary of my brother's death today. He actually passed away 8 years ago today, on the 15th of July, 2013. He was only 36 years of age. So I think it's only appropriate to talk about a song that I wrote about him called Butterfly. So I wrote a song called Butterfly because before my brother passed away, he used to draw things, like he was good at songwriting, and he used to just draw little pictures of things for his son, and he drew this butterfly, and he made a note, and he put a little sign of butterfly on it, and it always stuck with me. And so anytime I see a butterfly, I always think about my brother. And the chorus is, "Butterfly away, brother fly away." So that was the sort of the chorus of it. And one of the lyrics is, "A butterfly floating by, I wonder why." So always makes me think of my brother. So hope you don't mind me touching on that. I mean, John was my brother. He was an incredible songwriter. I mean, he was just so talented, but he just lived a troubled life. But he was in the Scottish National Orchestra, Alan. When he was younger at school, I sang the Scottish National Orchestra. So we've always been in a sort of musical family. He was a talented football player as well. Played for Celtic Boys Club when he was younger. But he was a big lover of music, and talking about Oasis earlier, he got me into Oasis. He was just playing Definitely Maybe when I was quite young, and then I was getting into that. So yeah, just touching on the wee piece about my brother there, because he was, just a brilliant songwriter. He's wrote countless amount of songs. One about his son called "Lean on Me," his son Liam, and there's just other ones that he's wrote, quite upbeat as well. So, as well as some somber songs, because of some things he's experienced in his life. As I said earlier, some of the greatest songwriting comes from heartache, isn't it? And John was like that. He was, just very reflective, like me, very philosophical. I'm like that, and I don't think I'll ever change. And I don't want to change. That's the way I am. So, so thanks for letting me touch on that little point.
I'm glad you did. It's an anniversary that it's something that you always want to refer back to. So and thank you for that wee background about your brother's obvious talents in music and football and the like. So thanks, William, for sharing that. That's obviously very personal.
Problem.
So
no problem.
I mentioned at the start of the episode how my dad was a big Elvis Presley fan. At his funeral, a year past January, the family chose "The Wonder of You" by Elvis as the kind of going out music, if you like. And so now that song has a completely different meaning, to it now for me. It's clearly a love song, but I thought it was just, it took it to another level for me when, it was time to say the final farewell to my dad, and I led my mum out the church, and this was playing in the background, and obviously it was bloody emotional, but I also thought it was just a nice touch, and my dad would have really liked that. And I think all these little things are important to do, to mark occasions like that, and music has done that on that occasion, so.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think with funerals, I've been through a few really difficult funerals. My dad, my brother, my stepdad, uncle, aunt, really close members, family members. And I think the music, because we're talking about music tonight, obviously, I think the music at the funeral should be about that person. I mean, just that's choose the songs they like and make the funerals quite personal. And we done that with my dad and my brother. We played, I don't know if you know this track, Alan, John Miles Music. It's, I think it was,
I do.
Oh,
yep.
That was my dad's favourite ever song. We played that at my dad's funeral. It's just an incredible song. That it's just all the build up of music and how music was my first love and it will be my last. And my dad, that was his favourite ever song. And it's a song that a lot of people know. But if anybody's listening, go and research this song. I think it was like 1976 it was out, and it's an amazing song. We played Mike and the Mechanics, the 11 years as well. So that was it's quite a sad song, but it's like you say, it's very uplifting as well. And we played All You Need Is Love as well, which is played at a lot, which is quite uplifting, which is played at a lot of weddings as well. But we played at my dad's funeral, and just touching on my brother's funeral, we played Pink Floyd, Coming Back to Life, which is a really, really sad song. I know Pink Floyd's music's a bit somber for some folk, but it's a beautiful song, that big epic guitar solo, which a lot of their stuff is. We played Live Forever, Oasis, as well. So so we made it really personal for my dad and my brother. That's you just to make it, just like you say, The Wonder of You is a great one. I'll remember that now. I think it's weird, I'll hear that song at some point, it'll remind me of this conversation or any other songs that we've talked about tonight. Songs will just go, music's like a bookmark your life. We'll hear songs and it'll say, oh, that reminds me of the podcast that me and Alan done. So I think that's a wonderful thing.
I couldn't agree more, William. So I'm sure I'm getting the vibe that you're feeling the same way, but I'm so glad that we pushed on and decided to go with the theme of music tonight. I've absolutely loved this, and I can pretty much guarantee we'll come back around and do this again one day in a future episode. What do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. As I say, when all these restrictions are lifted, we can go to a gig together and have a couple of beers. Sounds good.
Yeah, that sounds fantastic. A bit of karaoke and a bit of dancing. Perfect night.
Sounds good to me.
Good stuff. Okay, well, for everyone that's listening tonight, thank you very much for sticking with us. We really appreciate it.
Thanks, everybody, and keep the vision. Speak to you next time. Bye.